Hello and welcome back to another episode of Belcast. Surprise, surprise, I've actually put this episode out around a week, which has been a rare occurrence recently just with life in general. But so here it is. Firstly, I want to thank Riggsy for giving Belcast a shout out on his recent Belfast Live article. There's been so many new people listening to the podcast over the past few days since that's went out, so it's great to see, and it's great to see some appreciation and recognition for what I'm doing. So yeah, welcome to anybody who's only discovered the podcast recently, and I hope I don't bore you to tears with the dire state of Northern Ireland's politics, but I try and talk about as many different things as possible, and not all politics, but you know, sometimes I lean a bit towards politics more because that's my passion. But yeah, we'll get started. Last week I was talking about Northern Ireland and their international friendly against the Republic of Ireland, which was played on Thursday. So generally everything went okay. I wasn't at the game, but a few friends were there and they seemed to have a great time. The game itself I watched at home and it was a bit boring. It was finished 0-0 and it was a bit of a nothingness game, but yeah, around on the pitch everything seemed fine. Obviously I'd outlined a couple of hesitations and a couple of worries that I had that there was going to be some idiots causing trouble, and we did have a couple of instances of that on both sides. So I seen a picture going around Facebook of some Northern Ireland fan who had a parachute regiment flag that he brought down to Dublin with him. And, you know, I just don't know what goes through people's heads to bring a flag of that nature down. Like, the only reason you do that is to try and start trouble or try and wind people up. The parachute regiment were the regiment of the army, I believe, that went in on Bloody Sunday and killed the people that died. So, you know, things like that are just inflammatory. But again, this is a small minority, but they're always going to grab the headlines. And, you know, of course, once that was seen, you know, you had some people, I think a Sinn Féin member on Twitter was trying to, you know, tar all Northern Ireland fans with the same brush, which is completely ridiculous. You know, you're talking about a small number of people who are just idiots, you know, not even just in Northern Ireland and football fan groups, but like any group of people, you're going to get a small number of them that are just complete idiots who just have no empathy or care for anybody else. And yeah, that's the case in any big group of people. But also we had a couple of Northern Ireland fans, I think, were subject of a beating from some Republic fans after the game. Again, you never know what those guys could have been saying to the other side. You know, I wasn't there and all I seen was the picture. So, but yeah, it just shows there's idiots on all sides. But I was encouraged by some of the press that was going around from the both sides before the game. It was good to see a couple of Northern Ireland players and a couple of Republic players went to a local hospital in Dublin and visited some sick children and gave them shirts and were signing and everything. And I believe both Martin and Michael O'Neill, maybe the players as well, went to a dinner reception with the President of Ireland as well. So things like that, it's good to see because, you know, I just don't get a lot of the animosity. Like, I think some people just assume that everybody in the Republic of Ireland is marching to the border and they if they could, they'd take Northern Ireland back, no problem. But that's not the case. You know, a lot of people in the Republic of Ireland, I'd say many of them couldn't care less about Northern Ireland, and not in a bad way, but you know, it's not always that. You know, not everything needs to be political. So it was encouraging to see that, and just to see the game pass relatively peacefully. So Yeah, the game 0-0 was boring as anything. Probably 90 minutes of my life I'm not going to get back. But and yesterday's game wasn't much better. Northern Ireland were beaten 2-1 by Austria at Windsor Park. So all around kind of boring and disappointing week on the international football scene. But yeah, just really glad it went through relatively peacefully. And yep. Another thing that I watched over the past week was Children in Need, which I would watch, occasionally. It's a good thing if you're not doing anything on a Friday night, have it on in the background, and there's so many different skits and everything. But there was a rickshaw challenge, which I think Matt Baker, is that his name? Maybe got that wrong, but he used to be a Blue Peter presenter, and he's now a host on This Morning. Him and a few kids who have been helped by Children in Need in different ways throughout their lives. They got on the rickshaw and cycled from Calais to Manchester. I think it was over the period of a week. And it was just ridiculously inspirational, It was just, each of them had their own stories, and there was one girl who had dwarfism, and it was physically hurt her to cycle the bike, but she knew that what kind of image that she was putting out there of her, doing this unbelievable achievement in a week, the kind of courage that was going to give other people who might be suffering from disability like her. And it was just fantastic to see. But there was a girl, Kayla, I believe her name was, from Derry, and her mother was an alcoholic, and I believe she passed away relatively recently with an alcohol-related illness. And her father has a rare flesh-eating bug, which I read, and he's basically got disabilities as a result. And so she's been looking after him and lost her mother. And I know myself how difficult it is to lose a parent, but kind of to be in that position and, lose a parent through a potentially avoidable illness or cause of death, and just to have the sheer bad luck of your father having an issue as well, is just, you've just been dealt such a bad hand in life. But Children in Need helped her out, and I think she received like a therapist, and it was all funded through Children in Need, and she was taking part in this rickshaw challenge as well. So her story was just phenomenal as well, and just really heartwarming. And I don't know whether it's because I'm expecting a child myself, or I don't know, or whether it was just so emotional, but I just found it really difficult to watch. There was another girl who was diagnosed with cancer when she was 15, or maybe younger actually, maybe 13 or so. And her younger sister also got diagnosed with cancer. And you're just thinking, what kind of luck is there? And it kind of links in with my belief that there isn't any like heavenly being or a God, because if there was a God in the world, why would he give two young children cancer in the same family? So yeah, it was awful. But she had she's in remission now, but she said she was cycling for her friends that she had met in the hospice, and things like that. It just makes you want to get out and run. I'm doing a running challenge at the moment for Action Cancer, who help people across Northern Ireland, and help get early diagnosis, counselling after bereavements, and so much stuff that they help people with. But I'm doing a running challenge of running 500 miles this year, which mightn't be anything to some people, but I'm not shaped to be a runner. I haven't been athletic really consistently at all in my life until about just over a year ago. I started running, and it was horrible, but I just kept doing it, and it's great for mental health and everything, but I just started setting myself goals. So last year I did the half marathon, which as soon as I crossed the line, I just cried my eyes out because, I was fundraising for my dad, or in my dad's memory, for Marie Curie, and just so much emotions kind of hit you when you go across the line because, one, you're running around and you can see so many people with t-shirts on with pictures of their family members, and it's just so inspirational, and everybody's kind of keeping each other going, and a lot of it you just have it's just you and your thoughts basically, and it was just so emotional crossing the line. But seeing that girl and all those other children doing that task, it honestly just made me want to get out and give me inspiration for the goal that I'm doing at the moment. So I find that really heartwarming, and it's just terrible what some kids go through, and it's also terrible that we have to have children in need and these big charity events to raise money for things that I believe personally should be run by the government. And charity only comes up, and charities are only created because there's an absence of government spending, and it's a difficult one because the healthcare system is like a black hole. You could pump trillions into the healthcare system. It's obviously going to improve the system, but you're going to continue having to do that, and it's really sad, and especially when there's so much austerity and cuts at the moment, you can just see things like children in need become more important than ever. So it's great to see so many people fundraise, and especially nice to see other children fundraise for children who are in a bit worse off positions. So I'm not sure what the total was of the night, but I'm sure the money that they've raised will help out a lot of children across Northern Ireland and the UK. So that was a bit of good news this week. So amidst everything crazy that seems to be going on in the world this year and just across the world, you've got those fires happening in California. School and mass shootings seem to happen in America nearly on a weekly basis now. I took myself up to the North Coast on Friday and kind of just forgot about everything, which was good, just a good way to switch off. And you kind of forget how beautiful the North Coast is in Northern Ireland. It's just stunning. It's one of those things that because you live here, I think there's a kind of complex where things that are close to you aren't as nice as the grass isn't as green here as it is in the other side kind of thing. And, it's easy to look around the world and see natural wonders and all these nice beaches and everything and think, oh, I wish I could go there. But we've got some of the most beautiful scenery in the world, I would say. Obviously, I'm a bit biased, but so I was up in the North Coast and just travelling around, went to Ballantoy Harbour, and you can see why the creators of Game of Thrones came here to kind of get most of their sets and most of the scenes for the show. Ballantoy Harbour is just it just looks untouched. You could easily just imagine people 300, 400 years ago being there, or even before people were even around. It just looks like it's amazing. And just driving around the North Coast and seeing Dunluce Castle and everything, there's just so much history, and you can see why it attracts a lot of American tourists and Chinese tourists as well, because there's probably monuments and ruins on the North Coast that are older than the United States of America itself. And I couldn't believe the amount. I went into